It's 2025. We now have December statistics. Let's pop in because we are actually up to round out the end of 2024 compared to 2023, a question I'm asked about all the time. So let's talk about it. What's going on, y'all? It's Mason Bleasdell, your Austin real estate agent. We're at Carrying Carries. It's just opened up down the street from my house and is about as close as halfway as we can get between Sam, my videographer, and myself. So it works out perfectly. But this is our first stats update in the new year. We're looking at December 2024 stats. It was a wild ride of a year. Most of the colleagues, other real estate agents that I talk to on a daily basis, talk about how hard 2024 was. It was personally a really good year for myself. I sold more homes and dollar volume than I ever had, but there were quite a few that were more challenging than others that really wouldn't have been, in the pre-COVID market I worked in. Of course, the COVID market, you can exclude from that, but it was definitely a challenging year. We're dealing with high interest rates, we're dealing with an election year, we're dealing with all sorts of things going on around the world that all affect how people spend, usually the most money they'll spend on any sort of asset. So with all of that said, December actually wrapped up to be pretty all right. And people ask me, you guys, all the time, what is where are things going? Austin obviously had a huge boom. It had a pretty good drop as well, correction as well. But where do we look compared to 2023? And I'll be honest, it seems like a pretty straight line. There's wiggles in there for seasonality. December tends to actually be a pretty good month for closings, which is funny. The fall time definitely has a lull in it, but I want to talk about three different things in this video. First, we're going to look at what's going on in the last week. New homes, pendings, and price drops. I always think that's interesting data because that's a good indication of what we're going to see moving forward. I also want to talk about those closed statistics for December of 2024 and, taking out the element of seasonality, comparing that to the same, December of 2023 stats, just to look at those side by side and get a good sense of where we are actually trending to. So let's jump right on in. In the last 7 days, as of the time we're recording this video, 937 new homes have come online. Now, comparing that to the same week in December, that second week of December, quite a few more. That is very normal. We almost never list a house new in December. We will hold it till January. So that's pretty typical. In that same time period, 733 homes went pending. That's a decent bit down, but again, that first week of December, kind of right after Thanksgiving, this is a little bit weird. I wouldn't put too much weight on that, but definitely an interesting stat nonetheless. And price drops are pretty firmly down. I can say, and it was actually in the news a little bit ago, that mortgage applications are pretty far up from what they have been for a while. That is always the leading indicator of what's going to happen, because if people are applying for mortgages, they're thinking about buying a house. Now, that might be a longer process, but it's always an interesting stat. Based on the reduction in price drops pretty sharply, I think there's a lot more confidence in where we are at right now, and it sure seems like that from my perspective. I am getting more calls and emails and showings at my own listings than I have over the last 2 months, which of course is encouraging, but it's also fairly typical for this month. So definitely interesting to see that. People are kind of holding a little bit more steady, and perhaps using price drops as more, a way to bump up in the search results rather than reduce it to a price where it seems more appropriate. But let's jump straight back into December 2024 statistics. Volume of homes closed, 2,616. This is for the entire Austin MLS, Austin and all of its suburbs. But the number of closings is pretty sharply up from both October and November. During that same time period, the average sales price is up to $562,000. Average percent list price sales price remains the same at 97%. And the average price per square foot is also up just slightly from November at $250 a foot. Average days on market is also pretty strongly up to 81 days from 71 in November. That's fairly typical, just given the time of year, holidays and whatnot going on. People are traveling, usually not thinking about buying a house, but definitely one of the higher average days on market we've had in quite a while. So interesting statistic nonetheless. Throwing the medians in there, since this is Austin and all of its suburbs, median sales price, $435,000. It's up about 10 grand from November. Median percent list price sales price remained the same at 98%. Median price per square foot also slightly up at $214. And the median days on market is also up slightly at 59, kind of as expected. Super interesting. We're closing out actually pretty strong. These stats are mostly higher than what we saw for the past couple of months through the fall. very interesting as we go into 2025. Now, comparing these to December 2023 closed statistics, that month, 2,571 homes closed, so a little bit less volume. Average sales price was $539,000, a little bit down from where we are now. We are up currently. Average percent list price, sales price, basically the same. Average days on market, also almost the same at 78 days. Median sales price was 430, a little bit down from where we are now. Median percent list price, sales price remain the same, and median days on market also roughly the same. It's pretty interesting to see how we're closing out the year a little bit higher than what we were in 2023. I think a lot of people generally, at least the general consensus from people who are not diving into these stats all the time, is that Austin's going down. It really doesn't seem like it. It seems like we've found a new normal, despite how interest rates seem to be going a little bit crazy and all over the place. But again, a lot of things are going on geopolitically right now that are going to affect that. Now, what does all of this mean for you? Very interesting as we get into this new year. Investor interest rates. So if you're buying a home specifically that you will never live in, you're planning on just renting it out, those rates have dropped pretty substantially. Right now we're seeing 7.25% with no points, which we have not seen in a while. I mean, just a month ago, last time we recorded one of these, that rate would have cost you 2 points. So 2% of the loan amount, which can be pretty substantial. That's very, very fascinating. You know, current mortgage interest rates for a primary home are still in the high sixes, around 7. Depends on a lot of factors, of course, but that is what we are seeing right now. You know, and obviously that's pretty substantially higher than what we were in the COVID type of era. But again, I saw a stat just out this week that almost 75% of homeowners are sitting on a rate below 5%. A lot of people won't sell because anywhere they go is going to be more expensive. But I am finally seeing, you know, the first-time home buyers don't seem to be too discouraged by this. And I'm seeing a lot of people who are relocating, of course, have to move, want to. That said, it's the people who want to move, people who are upgrading, downgrading, you know, in terms of size, they seem to be holding a little bit more steady, but we will see as this continues to evolve. And every single zip code is also dramatically different as well. If you're interested in what this means for you, for your family, for your home, if you're moving here, whether you're looking to sell, reach out. I love talking about these. I'd love to talk more specifically about what this means for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful to you. Anything you ever need, my personal contact details are on the screen and down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next month.